Vast Data is an AI company that says they're providing the first AI operating system. To break down what that means and to share more about their Vast Forward conference is Jeff Denworth, co-founder of Vast Data. Jeff, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Great to be here again.
All right, so before we dive into the news, what is Vast Data doing?
So Vast has built an entirely new distributed system for basically all of a customer's data computing, database needs at extreme levels of scale for the AI era. So some of the world's largest organizations in the world trust us with their data and data processing requirements for largest GPU data centers, largest AI clouds. Some of the largest and most impactful generative AI tools in the world are built on Vast, and we've just built a spectacular business since the generative AI boom has taken off.
All right, and can you talk about the historical precedents for creating an operating system like this? We've seen it with .com and the internet, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. So it really went back to the very early days of the company when we were just seeing glimmers of what people could accomplish with technologies like deep learning. And this is back in 2016 when companies like Uber and Baidu and Meta and Google were just pioneering new fields of artificial intelligence. We said, well, if this actually sticks, then pretty much the entire data center stack needs to be rethought so that these new applications can work with data in new and more scalable and much more accelerated ways than what people had done before. So when we looked at it, we said, okay, we need to basically reinvent the entire stack, remove all of the constraints, and just give these new machines basically unparalleled access to data at any level of scale.
All right, and the inaugural Vast Forward event is kicking off February 24th in Salt Lake City. Who are the participants and what could they expect?
Sure. So 10 years later, we're holding our first global customer event. It's really exciting, and we've been fortunate to have some of our biggest customers come on stage and talk a little bit about what they're doing. These are both systems architects for large-scale AI initiatives as well as practitioners. So we've got companies like Lowe's and Pixar and Adobe and CrowdStrike and Coupang all the way from Korea coming to speak and kind of share their experiences with Vast, as well as some of the world's largest AI clouds, companies like Lambda and CoreWeave that are really focused on just building some of the world's biggest and most innovative infrastructure. And so they're going to share their experiences, and hopefully customers take a lot away with them when they leave. What
are some of the topics that might be covered?
So it really covers the full infrastructure stack, but it starts with the question of why. And so why do things need to change in this modern era? What are the requirements for these new inference and training applications? And so we start from there, and then we break down to a number of different elements that customers have to deal with to bring new scale and automation into their environment. And so that they should expect to learn about how to deploy storage infrastructure at very high levels of scale, database infrastructure, how to deal with handling all sorts of interesting new data types that are now funneling into some of these large AI data centers, and figuring out how to just manage all of that in a dynamic environment where technologies are always changing. We'll have NVIDIA there as well, and they'll be talking a lot about the technologies that we work on together. And so you get basically a full understanding of the complete data center spectrum through the lens of what's needed for these new deep learning technologies.
Can you talk about the technologies that you are working on with NVIDIA?
Sure. So actually, we just released an article the other day, or a blog post, I should say, about a lot of co-development that we do with them on a new inference acceleration framework. And so GPUs have lots of data to deal with, particularly as you have inference applications that just start to spit off tons and tons of data. So the question is, what's the best way to deal with a data strategy as it relates to this new concept called key value caching? And we've shown that you can get like a 20x acceleration by working with the technologies that are developed by NVIDIA and optimized by Vast. Beyond that, we work with pretty much all layers of the stack, so new reference architectures for computing, new ways to use their networking, new ways to use some of the inference microservices that they've gone and published out to the world that help people basically adopt and use AI in simpler ways than people have been able to do in the past. Up until now, it's been largely the domain of the smartest AI labs. And together with NVIDIA, we're basically working to kind of democratize an entire stack, an entire data processing framework that the whole world can deploy.
And I understand that you also have regional events that make up the Vast Forward World Tour.
We do.
Can you walk us through that ecosystem?
Yeah, so we do about 30 different events around the year, around the world, and the thesis is, well, at first we didn't think everybody would come to one centralized place to talk and collaborate, which we're now taking an attempt to do in February in Salt Lake City. But the easier thing is to take the story and the kind of the events to the customers. So just this morning I was looking at having to go to Abu Dhabi and Dubai as like the next stop that I have to go to. And what you have is some of the best customers that we work with, some of the best partners that we work with, and vast executives getting into a room and just talking about the state of AI, the state of data computing, and how things are changing so quickly and how people can get ahead of that.
Do you think it's important for people to be in person collaborating?
I do, but I think it's a function of our business maybe more than an absolute statement. So what I mean by this is that we tend to sell to the high end of the market. Customers that we work with spend anywhere between $1 million to, in certain cases, like we just announced a project that we did with CoreWeave, basically one of the new AI hyperscalers, where we created $1 billion agreement. And as much as everybody wants to say, okay, you can do it over Zoom and things like that, these types of relationships really need to be built through trust and through constant engagement. And getting people together is a great way to do that.
What is next for your company?
Well, so we're about to go into our 11th year, which is daunting and exciting. The company's been on a pretty big tear. We've been growing by multi-100% per year. We've been profitable, we've been cash flow positive, and so the question is, how can we continue that momentum? And the best thing that we can do is service the customers that we've had as best as we possibly can, and we really focus on best possible customer support experience, while also bringing more and more value to the platform, going higher up the stack, solving largely much bigger problems for those customers, so that they need to do less and they can just kind of take comfort in the fact that Vast is a little bit more of a comprehensive platform. So we're going to be making a lot of announcements around how we kind of fill out the product portfolio and ultimately drive to this idea that we're building a thinking machine for AI.
All right, Jeff Denworth from Vast Data, thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks for having me.